Welcome to my world. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. It is, what day is it? It's Monday. Feels like Monday. It's June 12th. We are here live. It is a free-for-all today. I have no theme. I have no guests. It's all about what you want to talk about. I have a ton of news. I did get up early this morning and decided to read some news. I've been avoiding it lately, so I've got several things I could talk about while we're waiting for some phone calls. Go ahead and jump in now, 855-950-3835. We'll get to your calls here in just a little bit. Not a lot going on this week. Fairly normal schedule. I'm not going to change anything this week. Should be pretty identical to last week. One guest this week, David Owen from Nastic, will be joining me again. David and I have been talking about several projects to work on together. I'm excited about that partnership. David's been off goofing around for a couple weeks on vacation. He's back this week, so we're going to get back at some projects as far as that goes. Something real quick. I listen to where I read a lot of Seth Godin. I've read all of his books, and he's got a lot of books. I've been reading Seth for a couple decades now. I don't talk about him a lot or recommend his books. Every once in a while I will, mostly because he really deals with marketing. And we don't do a lot of marketing in trucking, but he writes every day. He writes a paragraph usually. There's always some little nuggets of wisdom in there. Today's paragraph was really fitting for what we're dealing with in this industry, and I'm going to stick to owner-operators and small fleets, but this is really good business advice for anybody. So here's the title: Too Much Competition. Now, we talk about this all the time. Rates are supply and demand, not brokers ripping people off, not big carriers controlling the rates. None of those things are even possible in the trucking industry. There's too many players for any kind of collusion or price fixing. It just doesn't happen. When rates drop the way they're dropping now, it's really simple. It's supply and demand. Too many trucks, not enough freight. Too many trucks, trailers, and drivers. That's what it takes to move freight, and not enough freight to move. That's too much competition. We're in that cycle right now. Too much competition. There is such a thing. Free markets fix it on its own. The bottom third, I believe, will drop out of the industry here probably within the next 6 months. And then things will start to balance and adjust, and rates will start to come up slowly again. Now, that's if we're in a normal economy. After reading headlines this morning, I'm a little shocked at where we are in the world right now. Are we really going to start evacuating people out of Taiwan? And if so, that means China must be thinking about invading, and are we going to get sucked into another war? I should just stay away from the news. I needed some headlines, some things to talk about this morning. Trump will be arraigned tomorrow. That is looking like that could be a major event. He is, in some of the polls now I'm seeing, he is polling at 60%, way, way above everybody else, mostly because of what the government's trying to do to him. Just a lot of stuff in the world right now that makes our economy really hard to predict. But we should focus on what we can control. And that's what this short little paragraph was all about, but it's such a nugget of wisdom. Too much competition. And when there's too much competition, there are two approaches. Here they are. Number one, broaden your offerings. Make them easier, cheaper, and more available. Dumb them down and race to the bottom. So what that means is you really, again, I'm going to apply this to owner-operators and small fleets. You probably have not built any kind of relationships if you're really feeling the pinch right now. Rates are down, there's no doubt about it. Costs are up, that's a problem. And there just seems to be way too many trucks and not enough freight. So are you going to say, I never used to go to New York City, but I'm going to go to New York City? We all know those people that said, I'll never pull for less than X per mile, whatever their number is. Are they going to do that now? Will they end up giving in and saying, well, I either have to pull this freight or I go out of business? Will they start looking for new segments and new freight? And will they spend more time on the load boards? That's the first offer, or the first approach. Broaden your offerings, do more, make them easier, cheaper, and more available. Dumb them down and race to the bottom. And that's what most people will do in response to what's happening right now. Or here's the approach I really prefer. Focus on the customers who care enough about your idiosyncratic and particular offerings that they not only happily walk away from the lesser alternatives, but they'll tell others. Now, that's not easy to do in trucking, but it's possible. We have lots of people that have done exactly that, and they're very successful at it. So you have a choice to make when we're in an economy like this. The last 10 years, really, in trucking, it was very, very easy to pay the bills and succeed and at least stay in business. If you had a decent plan and you put in the hard work, you've probably been very successful. By far the most successful decade I've seen in trucking was the last 10 years. The last 3 have been fantastic. Not anymore. 2023, things changed. And now you have to adjust to that change. So you can either kind of get desperate and start doing things you said you wouldn't do, or you can do what we've been talking about for years. Focus on customers who value what you offer. That's why I get so crazy in this industry. We don't talk about customers. There are several groups right now pushing hard for the broker transparency bill. I'm sorry, but if you move freight on the spot market and you're using brokers to do it, they are your customers. And why would you want to join efforts to regulate your customers more? There's already regulations about broker transparency. They're never enforced. So the groups all say, well, then we're going to write laws that will be enforced. No, they won't. And if they are, in my opinion, every time I've studied this, the more transparent rates are, the faster it becomes a race to the bottom. Look at things like U-Ship. Everybody can see the prices. That's total transparency. And look what it does. It drives prices to the bottom. If I don't know what somebody's hauling a load for, I'm just not sure, and I want to take that load, well, it's hard to negotiate that. What should I go in with? What if my offer is already way lower than what they're hauling for? What if it's way too high? I'm just going to be ignored. But if you can see the price, then you know exactly how much to go under that price with your bid. Then the next person comes along and they can see the price and they know exactly how much to go under. Transparency in pricing is the race to the bottom, and it's for the weak. The people who can't figure out how to build relationships and exist in a down market. That's when they start screaming they want everybody else regulated. I just don't. One of the people I've been kind of debating this with, and it's been a good, healthy debate, but actually said they would like to see the Motor Carrier Act of 1980. They want to go back to regulated rates in trucking. I don't think they understand what that act was. I don't think they understand that under trucking regulation, financial regulation prior to 1980, and it had been that way since 1935, I believe. I think the original act to regulate trucking was around 1935. And then it was reversed in 1980. It was actually started by Carter and finished by Reagan. It gave the federal government power to control the rates in trucking. And they did it. They didn't set the rates, but they controlled the supply of trucks by not issuing authority. They just wouldn't issue authority. So you couldn't put more trucking companies on the road. So that fixed the supply and demand. Limit the supply. Demand keeps growing. Prices went through the roof. There were lots of people with trucking companies getting rich. There were also a lot of people just shut out of that market. And that's not a free market. That's not capitalism. That's some weird mix of socialism and even some communism in there with government controlling a major industry that impacts every other industry in the country, shipping. And I can't believe there are people who would want to see that come back. That's so un-American, really. To have the government controlling a big industry like this, look, it's never coming back. I'm not worried about it. There are some things I think we can predict pretty safely, and this is one of them. Regulated rates in trucking are never coming back, no matter how much somebody might wish for it. I'm just shocked that there are people in trucking who actually think it would be a good thing. All right, what else did I have this morning? I had all kinds of news here that I went through. Here's the headline: Spot market at bottom. Contract projected to continue falling. This comes from FTR. FTR is a freight forecasting organization. I follow several. They are predicting that we're at the bottom of the spot market. I hope so, but I don't think we are. I actually believe there might be more room to drop. We'll see. I say I hope it doesn't drop, but honestly, a short-term drop might not be a bad thing. We need to wash out some trucks and some trucking companies as quick as possible, or a lot of people will suffer because of it. So they think the contract rates will continue to fall. I agree with them on that, but I think there might be room for spot market rates to falter a little more as well. Here's another headline. This makes me insane. This is why I don't want government involved. They make a mess of everything. Man accused of using $2.9 million in fraudulent COVID relief funds. Now, he's ripping off the government because they made it so easy to rip them off. The COVID programs were absolutely awful. I was shocked at how easy it was for me to get $80,000 from the government. It was shockingly easy. And owner-operators that went on to get EIDL loans of $100,000 or more. It was just pure insanity. And look at what it did. This guy ripped off $2.9 million. Guess what he did with it? He took the money he stole from the government, our money, by the way, and then he cheated the government again because he used the money to start a company to delete emissions from trucks. And they deleted a bunch of them, and then they got caught. What a disaster. Both of these are because of the government, and this is our money. Now you got a bunch of trucks out there that they have now identified as being deleted. The value on those trucks have plummeted. It's possible that those trucks may be totaled. Well, what do you mean totaled? They weren't wrecked. They didn't catch on fire. No, but they need $10,000 to $12,000 to bring the emissions back to where they're street legal again, and they're probably not worth the money it would be required, because the values have dropped so much from what they were paid for in the last couple of years. What a disaster this is all the way around. This is what happens when government gets involved, really. It's just, and yet we have people in the trucking industry screaming for more regulation, just not on them. They want everybody else in the trucking industry regulated because it's everybody else's fault that they're failing. This is what we get when we get more government involvement. What else we got? I don't know if this is really meaningful or not, but I've been talking for the last 3 years about the whole died suddenly thing. Why are more and more people having heart attacks and strokes and dying suddenly? Why do we have all these weird health issues? Why has cancer exploded around the world? There are very strong clues that it has something to do with the COVID vaccination. Very strong clues. Now, I have no idea if this is a meaningful headline or not, but it just makes me wonder. Here's the headline. Group asks for help getting home 3 truckers who passed away over the road this week. Now, I know this group's been around a long time, and they help get drivers home after they die. Great organization, because that is a tough thing to have happen. You know, your spouse or somebody in your family dies and they're thousands of miles away. That's a So this group does great work. I've been reading about this group for years. I don't remember seeing them in the headlines because they had 3 in the same week. Again, I don't know if this is highly unusual or if it means anything or if it's just a coincidence. It just seems like I have to read an awful lot of stuff about people dying and getting cancer a lot more than I used to. All right, here's another topic that I have a lot of experience with. UPS must negotiate with Teamsters before introducing new technologies. I have two topics, 2 different stories this morning about unions. Now, I think most people realize I'm not a big fan of unions. I don't really care if they exist or not. When you look at these 2 stories, I can't imagine having to run a business and have to negotiate with the unions. So here's one. UPS must negotiate with Teamsters before introducing new technologies. Unbelievable. Do you know how difficult it is as a business of this size to choose new technologies, any kind of new technology they're talking about? Now, I know they're worried about autonomous vehicles and they want to be able to negotiate that, but this is any technology. UPS can't introduce new barcode scanners or new whatever technology in the drivers without negotiating with the Teamsters about it first. I can't even imagine. I'm in this now. We're at a point in our company where with AI and new technologies out, we have to make some hard decisions. You can't ignore this stuff. You can't go on using the old technologies. We've tried that. It's almost impossible. You have to upgrade. Trying to figure out what to upgrade to can be a huge issue for businesses. Make the wrong decision, and sometimes it could put you out of business. And now they have this other big factor. They're going to have to go in and negotiate with the Teamsters before they can put new technology in place. What a mess. Here's the other Teamster story. Yellow's tonnage remains in free fall. Bitter dispute with Teamsters likely driving freight from the network. Here's another huge risk for these trucking companies that have to negotiate with the Teamsters. Everybody knows about it now. We start talking about this months ahead of time. It's in the news. The reason is nobody wants their freight on these trucks if they might go on strike. I watch UPS has got a contract coming up as well. We ship with UPS, FedEx, and the post office. We use all 3. I promise you, if we get close and it looks like UPS is going on a strike, we will not put a single package on their trucks. I won't do that to my customers. I won't do it to myself. Because if that package gets stuck in the warehouse and our customer didn't get it, well, guess what we're going to do? We're going to ship out another one. And I can't afford that. So we will watch this closely. And I know our account doesn't matter to UPS. But this is a big, big deal. This is one of the reasons I was there. This is one of the reasons FedEx was able to grow as fast as they were. RPS, really. And then that's why they got bought by FedEx, because they grew so fast. Most of the growth came every time UPS threatened to go on strike or went on strike. I went through 2 of them when I was a contractor there. Never seen anything like it. I've talked about it before. I was renting trailers. Rules got thrown right out the window. We had so much freight we had to move. That happened several times, and many of those customers never went back to UPS, or they started shipping with both, so they had an alternative. Because what happened after the first couple of times, RPS then said, hey, look, here's the window. If you think you want to use our services, you better get in now. Once we get closer to a potential strike with UPS, we will not take new customers. That was a big deal. And here we are again. This time it's Yellow. They are losing a ton of freight because of the possible Teamster strike. The other reason I bring this one up is just remember a couple of years ago, the federal government bailed Yellow out. I believe it was like $700 million. I said they should have just let them die. They should let them die now. Just get it over with. Stop using our money to protect these companies. There's no such thing in business as too big to fail. That phrase should never be uttered. I don't care how big you are. We should not be using our money to save any business and then use the excuse, well, they're too big to fail. It would wreck the economy. Horrible policy. Should I even talk about this one? Here's another headline. Truckers protest in LA after city ends hauling contract over AB5. Listen to this. Some owner-operators count 5 generations participating in a 130-year-old program. Nearly 100 owner-operators protested in downtown LA on Thursday after receiving letters that the city was ending their contract for its as-needed haul truck program, citing the independent contractor law AB5. When I read this article, I thought, wait a minute, this AB5 shouldn't even apply here. Except I was wrong, because there's all kinds of weird exceptions in AB5 that I didn't even understand. Still don't really understand them. When I look at these 100 owner-operators, I didn't think AB5 would have affected them, except they're one of the first that are going to lose their contract. I want to go back and do a little research. 5 generations in 130 years this program's been going on? That's a story in and of itself, but now it's gone over AB5. We'll keep an eye on that. What else do we got? I had some AI stuff. I'm not going to talk about it. We have plenty going on. I've got one phone call. So if you want to jump in, now would be the time. 855-950-3835. Jump in if you have a question, a comment, a topic. You want to comment on anything I just talked about. Want to bring up something new. You got a question, need some advice. Pick up the phone and join me. Going to get started in Kansas. Bob, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin. Hey, about a month ago, I had to do a job. I went into a refinery and picked some stuff up, and they're like, well, you got to shave your beard before you come in and stuff. And so I was like, oh, no problem. Anyways, I shaved it, and, I figured it'd grow back. I've always had a beard and stuff. And
let me ask you a question. Shaved or trimmed down really short?
No, it had to be clean shaven.
Really?
I was picking up a crane inside of a refinery, and I had to go through a training deal where they taught you how to use the mask and everything.
Wow.
And anyways, I mean, it was no big deal. I was like, okay, I'll do it. And anyways, I thought it would grow back and it'd just be like normal. Well, it's been about a month, and I grew my beard back. And for some reason, like down my jawline and up into on the left side of my face, on my mustache area, it didn't grow back correctly. And I was like, I never had that before. And anyways, I keep growing it back and down and now it's working its way back towards my ear, where on my jawline where my beard's not growing back. And I looked it up, and it's some form of alopecia, and they said, just normal aging and stuff causes this. And I mean, I've been doing, a keto carnivore diet for about 5 years now, and I was just wondering if you've ever heard of anything like this, or how do I fix it? They say it's kind of like an autoimmune, where your immune system is attacking your hair follicles, causing them to die. And I was just curious, is there anything I can do for it, or have you ever heard of such a thing?
I've heard of it. I haven't done any research. Maybe I need to. Because I don't know. I don't know if it's autoimmune. I really have no good answers for you because I've just not researched this at all. The one thing that does come to mind that is common, and it happened to me, it happens to most people, and it doesn't seem to matter. I've been on a really clean diet for 9 years. As we age, you tend to lose hair across your body. On my legs, I used to have really hairy legs. It's almost all gone. And that's not uncommon. It's very common. And I thought at one point, well, maybe it was part of the diet. And maybe, if you're eating a really clean diet, it won't happen. But it happened to me. And I've lost hair on other parts of my body as well. It just slowly over time, I have less and less hair on my body, which is kind of strange, but it happens. I know absolutely nothing about it. I'm going to have to go do some reading.
Yeah, I just was curious if you'd ever heard about it. And I had a question about AI. I do a lot of oversized permitted loads, and we get these permits from the state, and they're like kind of difficult to understand. And, there's certain things about them, the way they write it, and you got to read it and you got to map it out. And, it takes sometimes an hour to map out a permit, where you pin it out on your phone or you pin it out on a laptop or something. And not always an hour, 45 minutes. It's kind of painstakingly to get each one of your turns in and stuff. And I was thinking about how could AI help me, go through this, and how if I could get it to read. And so I downloaded the app and I asked it to do a few things. And it's
when
like,
you say
we
app,
can't.
hold on a second.
It won't interface with maps and stuff like that.
Hold on. Go back. I have no idea what app you downloaded, because there's about 10,000 AI apps right now.
Okay.
What app did you download? I can't comment.
Which one should I?
I don't know.
It's ChatGPT's app.
Okay. So is it from ChatGPT itself, or is it a third-party company using ChatAPT to power their app?
Okay, I have no idea. Which one should I download?
I don't know yet. They change so fast. This is why we're not even making any decisions within our company. We just all experiment with new stuff. It's too early, I think, to commit to anything. Now, if you have a specific task to accomplish, then yes, we could go figure out. I would do a search for AI legal apps. This is a contract. We're looking at contract language. And this is a place where I think AI will shine. I think AI is going to put an awful lot of attorneys out of business, and paralegals and legal clerks. And law is precise, and we have huge databases full of law cases. This is exactly what makes AI really work well. Complicated area with huge data sets and very specific rules. That is the ideal use for AI. It's not really opinion. It's much more based on fact. And there are a ton of AI apps already doing legal stuff. You're just going to have to do some searches and try some. I want to be able to help people more with AI, but it's too early. I mean, I can't figure out my own uses of AI yet. I've used probably at least 40 different apps in the last couple of weeks, just trying them out. Here's one of the things that's going to happen. I know already I'm going to have to set a date, and I'm going to have to sit down and probably spend a day going back and canceling a whole bunch of subscriptions. You don't have to sign up for subscriptions. There are plenty of free programs out there, but I was only using the free stuff and realized I'm falling behind already. Sometimes I just have to suck it up, and I won't, buy a year's worth on anything, but if they offer a monthly, I've probably signed up for at least a dozen of these already, and I just need to set a date so I go back and remember to get rid of all of them, or get rid of the ones that I'm not going to use. And honestly, some of these tools are absolutely amazing. I start to use them and think, yeah, this is it, except I try another one. I go, whoa, look, this one's even easier and better. And it's mind-boggling how fast this is happening.
So if I was going to search for like a bunch of these, how would I find out which one would be the one that would do something like this? Or do you just have no idea? We just keep trying and trying and trying until we hit one.
And even if I knew one that would do it, is it the best one? I have no idea.
Okay.
So really,
just try maybe you hit one.
When I say I committed 3 to 4 hours a day, I spend 3 to 4 hours a day reading newsletters so I can see what's available. If a certain version of AI interests me, then I go look at that specific tool. And if it really interests me and I have to, I'll sign up for a subscription to try it. But I'm almost not. I'm trying these things one time and almost not going back yet because there's so many new things to try.
I would just think that in this application, this would be one thing that I could really use that would work for me and my what we do. And I think
here's where we are on this right now. You can create your own chat bots. Now, it's not simple, and I But what I'm finding is people are already writing step-by-step tutorials. Here is how you program your own chatbot to do this. And they're still fairly complicated. You don't have to understand coding. I know nothing about coding. And I've actually written some chatbots and created web pages with calculators, and they do all kinds of crazy stuff. And I know zero coding. But if I can take my time and follow one of these tutorials, I can create this stuff. And that's what is happening right now. It's like AI is there, but everybody's building their own individual little versions of AI to do specific things. And that's what you need right now. You can either figure out how to
So where do I
make
go
it
to
work
find that information?
Here's what I would do. Search for, and why not go to Google and use Google's new AI search, which they have now. You may not be able to. You have to be, I think it's on a wait list now. So just do any search for AI newsletters. Start there and sign up for about 10 newsletters. Okay. And then just give yourself an hour or two every day to during a quiet time with no distractions, just start reading the newsletters. And then if you want, do a search for AI legal tools and just start reading some of the websites and see what they do and see if it makes sense to you. Okay.
I appreciate it, Kevin. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. All right. I would have thought that the calls would have piled up, but I've got one in the queue coming in right now, and that's it. So maybe an early day for me. I have no problem dropping off here at 9 o'clock. I've got a lot going on. A lot of projects I'm back working on. Almost all of my projects, when I say I'm working on them, what I'm doing is what I was just talking about. Testing out AI tools to make every one of those projects better. And I'm very, very optimistic about that. I have been writing a lot more than I ever write because writing is now easier for me. And I am not just sitting down and telling AI to write an article. I'm taking old material that I've updated over the years and running it through AI, and it's just making it much more powerful. All right, calls are starting to come in. We'll stick with them. Let's go to Florida. Tony, welcome to the program.
Mr. Rutherford, my man, how are you, sir?
It's Monday morning, and I am right with the world today.
That's right. I won't bore you with the with my exhaust manifold right now. Sleep study number 88. I wasn't supposed to talk about that, but yes, I am proud of my finally a good score.
What was it? What was your score?
On my Garmin watch. 88.
Oh, man, that is awesome. 88 is a good score. I don't get anywhere near there.
It usually cheats me at least an hour out of and I try to get 12, but I usually only end up with 10, and it'll give me like 8.5 hours of sleep and say I'm awake for an hour and a half. This time it only cheated me about 30 or 45 minutes, gave me over 10 hours out of 11, even 10.5. So I got an 88 out of that. I don't know what happens if you get over 90. I've never done it.
Yeah, me either. 88's a high score. Congratulations.
Let's see, what else? HRV, I think I'm around a 62 on that. Still need another week of sleep HRV to get my 7-day average.
Yeah, I've got a weird thing going on with HRV. Mine was climbing for no apparent reason other than probably all the activity in the garden, which was really good. And then for some reason, about 2 weeks ago, it started dropping a couple points a night. And I'm back down into like the mid-40s again. And I have no idea why, other than I don't think I'm sleeping enough for the amount of physical activity I'm getting. But it's the physical activity that seems to shorten my sleep. And I feel good.
Right. I'm the opposite. I overtrained. It's at 68, actually. I completely killed myself. Every part of me is sore. So I sleep good. I can sleep through a nightmare, but 68 there. But I'll work on that. I do got to say, if there's other people out there that have this Garmin watch, it has burned a hole through my wrist. I didn't want to leave that until the Garmin guy is on there. I had to take it off. I woke up scratching, and I don't know if that's a magnet or some kind of radiation in there with those flashing things, but it like burned a hole in my wrist, and I've got some dermatitis from that watch.
That's planned. It has to burn the hole first so it can insert the microchip.
I see. Exactly. Well, I think Peterbilt has inserted a microchip into my exhaust manifold, if I may jump, because this is relevant.
Sure.
If I can switch to maintenance for
of course.
1 second. I called in about that. There was a belt chirping sound, and people were trying to help me. Yes, it is a PACCAR again. They have found 2 manifold bolts on the bottom of the manifold that are broken, and they wanted it to replace $3,200, 20 hours. Now, what you'll be concerned with is this shop. I have a bad relationship, but it's the only shop around me, so I've been working with them anyway. They kicked me off of their property this time because I complained to the regional manager. I had an airbag, and they took out my differential and resealed it because they said the grinding sound that I also called you about, it turned out to be an airbag, and they resealed the differential, no change. I ended up changing an airbag out of TA, and it was gone. It was the airbag. So I complained that they're over-repairing, and I think this is the same because I'm not getting any blowback from the bolt where it inserts.
Okay, so I have some things to say. First off, I'm sorry that you have to deal with this shop because you don't have many options. This is one of the reasons I just can't like the PACCAR engine. One of too many. Let's say it had this beautiful architecture with that we could really downspeed it and had a nice, short stroke and all, low pitch. We could do all those things we want to do because the architecture was correct. It's not. If it were, I would still have a problem. It would not be a choice for me, and here's why.
Good job.
We don't have anybody in this country that has 10 years experience working on PACCARs. We don't have anybody with 5 good years as far as I'm concerned. Most guys who work on them, that's not the only engine they work on. They work on all the other engines. They get a PACCAR once in a while. That's a problem for me. It was one of the reasons I could not get on board with the Volvo engines early on. The service was awful. Nobody knew how to work on them because they had never been around. So that's another issue I have with this engine. But I will say this, if I would not ignore that manifold problem. It's chirping. There's a problem there. When you say it's not leaking or whatever, it is. That's the noise. You got to fix this.
I see smoke down where it goes into the emissions, like that pipe.
Yeah, so
I see smoke there, but that's
while
the only
I
thing
was
that I see.
Fixing the manifold, I would install a ported and polished manifold. Let's at least gain something out of this. Call Pittsburgh Power, and what you might have to do is you might have to buy the manifold. They won't do it. Who won't do it? I don't mean have them install it, but talk to them about the manifold.
Pittsburgh Power will work on phone.
No,
they don't want to touch the PACCAR that I asked.
I'm not asking you to take it to them. I wouldn't, because I know they don't want to work on it and they wouldn't be any good at it anyway. But they can get you the manifold, I believe, because the way it works, you would buy the manifold, ship it to them or have it shipped to them. They will do the work on it and then send it back. So we might as well gain something from this problem. Tony, you still there?
Say that again. My manifold?
No. Well, it's possible if the truck's going to be down a long time, you might want to talk to them. Maybe you could take your manifold that's on the truck. It would have to come off. Then it would get shipped to them. I don't have any idea what the time is on this. I haven't talked about it in a long time. And then they would ship it back and you would install it. They send it out and have it basically what we call ported and polished. They're going to clean up all the edges in there. They're going to smooth out the whole surface. At one point, they did a ceramic coat at the end to make it even slicker. I'm not sure if they're still doing any of that. But before I spent a bunch of money fixing a manifold, I would talk to them and see what my options are for getting a better manifold in there.
I see. Just for all of my fans out there that want me to keep running this truck It has gotten me 6 years without any real problems. It'll probably go 2 million miles without even addressing anything. I know you don't like PACCAR, but it's been good, and I don't think this is a real major issue. I think it'll still go, and I'll run it into the ground and then just get a new truck. That's my way. But I will. Yeah. I'll see, because I really can't afford it. But yeah, I do like that idea. I'll call Pittsburgh Power again and see. Talk about the relationship with the dealer, though, because I pretty much have to go to Naples or Tampa.
So here's my thing.
I've got a little guy, but I do big jobs.
I could talk about it, but I don't have any good answers for you. That's why I get so frustrated. I am not a fan of. I've done it occasionally, but I'm usually not a fan of having my primary maintenance and relationship at a dealer. I just find that I really prefer smaller independent shops where I get to know the owner. That's the size of a shop I want to deal with. I know the owner of the shop, and that's who I have my relationship with. But I don't know of any independent mechanics or shops out there that are really doing any work on pack cars, so that may not be an option for you. That's a problem for me.
I do know a guy.
That's the way Volvo engines have been for about two decades. What do you mean? They build and sell trucks.
Have you literally heard of anybody asking somebody, a loyal customer that has spent lots of money to remove their truck from their property at once?
The only way I could see that happening is if you were so obnoxious and outrageous they needed to call the police. I mean, other than that, I get angry customers. I'd be angry too. Deal with it. But no, I'm shocked that you sound like a pretty reasonable person to me. So I was really almost on a service manager's desk one time screaming at him. I totally lost control. It was over that damn Meritor transmission and all the money I spent on it. And if they would have removed me from the property, they didn't. I'm shocked that somebody that asked you to leave. That's kind of bizarre.
I did say that I wasn't ever going to come to Peterbilt again, but he left me high and dry. I mean, this manifold, I wanted them to fix it. I was going to pay. I already did, but they not only said to remove from the property, which I think was bonehead. Why? What do they have to gain by that? But they dropped their $300 they had into it. They didn't make me pay the diagnosis either.
And you know what?
How am I going to buy another Peterbilt at all? I can't now.
You won't.
I don't trust them.
And you're calling a radio show with a lot of other people that buy trucks, and this has to put a little bit of doubt in their mind too.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, you should.
Even if it is a Cummins.
You should. That's the point of this show, so we share stuff like that.
Right. So, Joel, sell me a Volvo. I'm ready. If I see a good Volvo out there.
Now,
it's over.
Hold on. You know how much I like Volvos and their architecture and everything about them. Really love the truck now. Have for years and years. Now it's even better. I used to love the truck, but hated the engine. And then when you couldn't get a Detroit anymore, I stopped buying Volvos. I had to go to Freightliner, and I wasn't happy about it, but it was my best option. Now that I can buy a full Volvo engine, driveline, everything, I'm pretty happy about that. But I still tell people there's still a dealer issue here. There aren't a lot of independent shops that work on these. So before you buy a Volvo, you should probably find a shop. Because if you can't find a shop near you, I would say don't buy one. We might have to go to Freightliner or who knows what. But having a good shop near me with the relationship is so important to me that I have switched truck brands because of it. And I think you should too.
Before I start calling Joel Plastic Man, I think I might have to go back to Kenworth because I did have a pretty good T2000. I'm just kidding, by the way. Yeah, I know some people think Volvos are made of plastic. That's why I said that. but that T2000 was rather good with that Cat 15. I'm sure nobody would complain about. I should have kept it.
It's a shame that our iconic American brand is in the shape they're in right now. And part of their problem, in my opinion, is they are the last truck manufacturer to really integrate and create a proprietary truck. Now, I know they tried. They built their own engine, but they've got a long way to go on that thing. And their proprietary truck, I wouldn't own one. I just think they've done a horrible job putting it together. International looks like they may be a real contender in the market again with their new designs on their engines. I hope so, but I don't know what's going to happen. PACCAR and Cummins, I believe, are both floundering, and those are both iconic American brands. But they're floundering because they missed the boat on, we don't build component trucks anymore. We build proprietary trucks, and that's not going to change. And they're just way behind the curve on that.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, PACCAR's done. I'm looking for Volvo.
There you go. Find a shop. Find a shop first. Let's go to Oklahoma. Paul, welcome.
Howdy.
What's on your mind today?
Another bad feature about the anti-Americanism, but another bad feature about the PACCAR engine. If you have to replace a camshaft in that, you have two options. Take the cab off or pull the engine out, because the camshaft goes in the back.
Oh, man, that sounds like fun. Wonder what that job cost.
Yeah. Probably way more than it should, because you got a whole lot of additional labor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So there's a lot of anti-Americanism going around. You know, you can like Trump or dislike him. I don't give a rat's ass. But one law for everybody, not just for some. So if they're going to arrest Trump, why are they not arresting Biden and Hillary? And there's probably a list of other people you could add on there as well. So,
you know, the biggest issue here is the way we frame this. The fact that this is the first time a former president has been criminally charged like this, that's got to be a big, big, big deal. And we should be very careful about something like this. And here's the biggest reason in my mind this is a problem. Forget what he did, forget what documents, because we know every president has dealt with this when they leave office, every one of them. So this is a very unsettled part of our politics. Obama just put in the rule that we're trying to deal with right now, so that's fairly new. Here's the biggest problem with all of this. He's the number one candidate, and we have a sitting president using the power of the American government to eliminate his political rival. That's what's happening here. And whether that's the intent or not, and I believe it is the intent, but even if it wasn't, this should wait. I'm sorry, even if you're going to prosecute this should not be done right now. This records thing has always been an issue. There's nothing egregious about what he did compared to what a ton of, including our current sitting president. Haven't we seen stories about documents in the garage, documents in Chinatown, documents left at some university someplace? Somebody explain why. And the left will say, oh, it's different. What's different? Well, he part of what I'm hearing is they're actually prosecuting him for lying about the documents and ignoring the Department of Justice, and so it's not the documents themselves, it's his other things that this is so weak. It's such a weak case. To do it at all to a former president is just wrong. And to do it while he is the number one candidate by far, he's the opposition party, and we're going to use the Department of Justice. This is just so wrong.
Yeah, that's kind of like Hitler. Arrest our political opponents.
It's just awful. I mean, they do this stuff in China. They do it in North Korea. They don't do it. We've never done this kind of stuff here, ever.
Yep. So,
what else you got?
Crazy stuff. Not a lot, because I'm just pulling up to my first delivery of the day. But
there you go.
Had a busy week last week. I got 4 loads to do this week on my contract rate freight, which is still very good. Thank
Excellent.
you.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Keep it up.
Yeah, so
All right.
I will carry on.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Well, let's go to
Okay,
work.
bye.
You're always busy. Let's go to North Carolina. Danny, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin. Good morning.
Good morning. What's on your mind today?
Bunch of little things here. Took a Everly Well vitamin D test and the inflammation test. The vitamin D come back at 92,
Perfect.
and the inflammation, I don't know how to read that. I know it says it's in their range. It's a 0.3, 0.03.
Okay.
Do you know how theirs goes?
Oh, that's really low.
I'm assuming that's
That's virtually no
which is good.
inflammation at all. Yeah, it's really good. No, that's a great number.
Yeah, well, that's good to know. I've been doing this nursery loads for the past few months here, but it's seasonal and it's pretty much done. So I'm going to have to get back under my flatbed. And I've been watching the rates. There's still some good stuff out there. I get emails almost every day from a guy that does lumber loads that surprisingly still pay. Okay, not some people are going to say it's too cheap, but we're still up close to $3 a mile on some of them loads, depending on where it's going. So I don't know how long this downturn or everybody's doom and gloom, all the posts you see about, the brokers or this and that. And I'm just kind of laughing because, my costs are low enough. I don't see an issue with this downturn. I've got enough money put back to, as long as it doesn't go on for years and years. But
so, well,
I don't know. I think it'll be.
Let me give you the other end of the spectrum because I'm in a little debate on social media over this right now. I'm probably going to do my spaces on Thursday on this topic. But here's the post from one of the guys I'm kind of debating who absolutely believes that this is all a broker issue and the brokers are doing this. He really believes this. Here's his post. More scumbag brokers. There are 1,630 loads posted in a 300-mile radius. The rates are $1.20 per mile. Free and fair market, supply and demand at work. It is supply and demand at work. He actually got it right. I know he's being sarcastic, but this is how a free market works. Somebody is going to move this freight. Somebody's going to make money doing it. You can sit back and blame it on everybody else, and you won't be one of those people. Or you can just decide this is the real world. The government can't fix this. The last thing we want them doing is getting involved. They'll just make it worse. And you should be focused on what it takes to pay the bills, not running around blaming everybody else. Look, even if we could prove this was the brokers, so what? What are you going to do to fix it? Nothing. But it's not.
Yeah, I know.
There are way too many trucking companies and way too many brokers to ever have any kind of price fixing. It's just not happening. And this demand for transparency is the biggest mistake I think we could make. Every time you have rate transparency, it's a race to the bottom. Why can't they get this? UShip, any of these auction sites,
agree.
eBay, any auction site, I can see the price. All I have to do is cut it by 1%. Then the person behind me cuts it by 1%. Then the next person comes along and cuts it again until it gets down to the basement and nobody is willing to cut it anymore. That's what happens when you have transparency.
Right, I agree with you, and I even comment if I see somebody with this transparency thing, and I tell them, I said, it shouldn't matter.
It shouldn't matter.
The broker,
that's right.
If you don't like brokers, go get your own direct customers.
So when I was having this debate, I and it was on text so far. That's why I'm just going to do a space. I hate debating stuff like this over text and post and replies. But I tried to just question him, not make comments. So I started questioning. Well, explain to me how the brokers could do this. And then he goes off on a tangent. And then I would say, well, look. Why? So you must be going directly to your shippers and getting freight, right? And he wouldn't answer my question. He just kept avoiding it. And I just kept asking it. Tell me about your operation. And then I caught some of his posts where he was saying, I had to sign it's not technically a non-compete. I guess it is a non-compete, a back-selling agreement with all these brokers. So now I can't go to those shippers and get freight. And his post that finally pushed me over the edge, he said brokers and dispatchers, and I'm sure he means dispatch services, are completely unnecessary in the trucking industry, and yet they act like they're the most important part of the equation. So I started questioning him about his operation. Turns out all of his freight is spot market through brokers, all of it. And I said, why would you use a broker if you think they're scumbags and cheats? Well, it's working in my operation. And I said, then why are you pushing for all this government regulation and transparency? Well, other people are out there getting ripped off. Would you trust somebody who posts over and over and over that all brokers are scumbags, and then you find out their entire business model is built on brokers?
That's funny.
Yeah.
Here's something here's something. Let me give you my thought on a lot of this. When you set up, let me try to make sure I word it right. You can be set up. A lot of these shippers, when they get freight, like I've got some places around here where I've talked to them, and they said, they don't do a lot of outside carriers. They have their own trucks, but they do occasionally. I said, well, great. It's, if we can work together. I see a load on the load board, and I knew where it was coming from. So I called them and said, hey, there's a load that's going point A to point B. You're shipping out. And they say, well, it's not us. A lot of times the customer, whoever is buying it, or somebody else is acquiring the truck, and they'll send a truck in. So the shipper doesn't know all they know is a truck is coming to get their load. So it has nothing to do with them, which is why you may be set up direct with the shipper. But when you see loads going out, it's not the shipper avoiding you. It's the other end, the customer, receiver, whoever.
Correct.
Is say, hey, I've got a load that we're coming in. And that's something to keep in mind for people that are trying to get set up with, direct. I mean, company I'm leased to, we've got some that are direct.
Here's the thing about getting direct freight. If you are a small carrier, 1 to 5 trucks kind of thing, even up to 10, most shippers don't want to deal with you. This is a change that has happened the entire time I've been in the industry. So I came into the industry only about 5 years after deregulation. I mean, I was pretty close. A lot of things were changing back then. Prior to deregulation, there really weren't freight brokers. Now there's tens of thousands of them. Deregulation created freight brokers because it created so many carriers, because prior to deregulation, you couldn't become a carrier. It was virtually impossible. You had to go buy your authority for $1 million or more. So there were a lot of carriers. That's how they controlled the rates. The government did that. But after, all of a sudden, there was thousands and thousands of trucking companies, and they were coming out of the woodwork because now it's an open market. So what happened then is, as a shipper, how do you figure out which one of these thousands of trucking companies you should be using? They're all knocking on your door all day. Everybody's got a different system. So if you've got 10 different trucking companies in there, companies back then had huge shipping departments. I used to be in them every day when I was doing all that P&D work. I knew the people that worked in there. Companies today don't have huge shipping departments. That's why they use brokers. And that's what they like. They don't want to go hire those people again. But if one of these companies, instead of using 5 brokers to move 300 loads a day, tried to use all individual trucking companies, imagine what a nightmare that becomes. That's why they use brokers.
Yeah.
And they like them, and they're going to continue using them. So we as carriers better figure that out, that you're either going to work with brokers or you better go to very, very small shippers and try to get your foot in the door as one of their carriers. And it can be done, but you have to know which size companies to target.
Yep. I try to get, when I say set up direct, that's, through the carrier. So when I haul it, it's directly through them. But here's something too, and I've some of the, not all of them, but some of these shippers, when you talk to them, when they see, if you want to set up with them, especially if you're a small guy, they look at, well, if we cut out the middleman, we can just pay you what we're paying, what you're getting. Of course, I wouldn't tell them what I'm getting, but they're like trying to figure it out. So what they're doing is they're paying $2,000 on a load. The broker's paying $1,700. They said, well, we'll pay you the $1,700, and we'll say, well, you're not making any more money because now. But I've had that happen years ago. I just passed on it because
happens a lot. Happens all the time. That's business.
And I've actually seen. There's a place that makes those utility trailers. We actually got set up direct with them, and I called them to book a load, and they didn't want to pay as much as what the broker was paying.
Correct.
I didn't understand that.
Well, let me explain.
I was the broker was paying like an extra,
Let me explain what could have happened.
Go ahead.
And this is another thing owner-operators don't understand. They think brokers sit at home with a phone and do no work. They don't. They go out and make sales calls. If they're good brokers, they'll be out making sales calls, working with their customers. They have to bid on a lot of freight and a lot of lanes, and it's complicated. And I can tell you what happened. They bid too low, and they can't get a truck to move it, and they have to pony up. They probably lost money on that load. Happens. Brokers lose money on loads too. They go in and book it at a certain rate, and they know rates and lanes. They have to. But rates and lanes can change so fast that you book this load for a week or two out, and that lane dries up. And now you have, as the broker, you have to pay the carrier more than you got paid for this load. That happens.
I agree. I believe it. And I'm following a bunch of people there that on Twitter there, which I'll get way too much time on that app. But like Craig Fuller does a lot of stuff with like this. What's going on with the rates and the trucks and all that stuff. And there's a lot of good.
Are you familiar with who Craig is?
A lot of good trucking stuff on there, but there's,
okay.
U.S. Express and FreightWaves and
he's the son
all
of
that good
the
stuff.
U.S. Express, started FreightWaves. Craig, I almost all of my industry data now comes from FreightWaves and Craig's post and some of the other editors over there. And they've just got really, really good data.
I just wanted to make sure that you knew who I was on there because I don't think my name shows up, but I don't. Just a pickup truck and
you use the same.
I didn't know how you figured it out, but obviously you go off names, but my CB handle for the past 30 years was Scat Pack.
Right. So I saw,
and that was a lot of screen names. Yeah. But there's other people that use it because it's a Mopar term, and I usually have a number or something after it. I've 01 or on here it's 103 because that was a truck number. I don't know why I picked 103, but all right. Well, it's me, and I catch the spaces when I can. But if I'm in and out of the truck, I'm having to turn it off, and I come back, listen, but I usually catch the replays when I miss the show. But anyway, I got a busy day today. I just got home took the motor home to get the yearly inspection, and now I got to go get the tag renewal for it and tinker with some of the trucks. And
there you go.
I'll let you go. Thanks, Kevin.
Sounds like a good day. Talk to you soon. Let's go to South Dakota. Scott, welcome.
Hey, Kevin. I'm a member of the trucking tribe, and I put a post on there, and you said call you on the show, so here I am.
Oh, good. Let me, should I go back and look at the post, or can you summarize it for me? I get that a lot, so it's not coming to me which one it was right now.
All right. It's easy summary. I took your advice and, bought your courses and been working through them, and you always said get in at the when the market's the worst, so that way you can learn the hard way how to run your numbers. So back in March, I paid my $10 to the state to register my business name and got my EIN and applied for a business loan to try and buy a truck. And
Okay.
I'm getting dizzy looking at all these dang things. Can't find anything.
So what's your budget?
Can't find a TC Volvo. I'm looking probably around 70.
Okay.
I got a loan for 100, so I want to keep some money in reserve. So that's why I was thinking around 70. And
What's the interest rate?
10.5.
Not awful. But it's enough that you really you don't want to spend that 100,000. I wouldn't.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I need to keep a little in reserve for...
Yeah, I would spend... Well, wait a minute, though. Is this like a home equity line or a revolving line of credit?
This was just a signature loan.
So you had to borrow the entire 100,000. So whether you spend it or not, you're paying interest on it. That was a mistake, in my opinion. You borrowed money that you're not using, but you're paying that 10% interest on it.
Right.
I would probably...
Yeah, I get that. That's really the only way I could come up with any cash.
No, Scott, you're not listening to me. And we don't, in my opinion, you don't make bad decisions because it's your only choice. Then you don't make the decision at all. Don't borrow the money. But it wasn't your only choice.
Right.
You're looking at a truck for 70, you borrowed 100. Just borrow the set. Actually, if your budget is 70, you should have been borrowing 50 to buy this truck. Half of what you borrowed. The other 20 should have come out of your pocket. So when I talk about starting at the bottom, I mean it. It's the best place to start. But you don't have a lot of room for error.
Right.
We have to remember that. You've got to. So I say, if you're going to start at the bottom, you better have a solid plan. You better be making good decisions. This was your first bad decision. If it were me, I'd be taking 40 or 50,000 out of that loan and paying it back now, as long as there's no prepayment penalties. And I don't know that without looking at the contract.
No, there's not.
If there's not, I would take 40 or 50 grand and pay it back, and then I'd go find a truck that I could get for 50, or 50 plus me putting in 10 or 20 more cash. Do you have that cash?
Yes.
Okay. Then
I've got 10 in the bank right now.
And that's bare minimum. We should probably be looking at a $40,000 to $50,000 truck max, and then you could pay back like 70 and take 10 and throw it in there. And so I don't think you're really in the market for a TC Volvo, in my opinion, unless they're coming down. I mean, we might be able to find something.
Find any.
They're out there. You're not looking hard enough.
All I've been finding is VGTs.
And look, so here's the other thing we do here. When I need a specific truck like this and I go search the market and I'm not finding as many as I'd like, or I'm not finding any in my range, now I'm going to go find a salesperson and I'm going to give them a list and say, find me one of these. That's my approach anyway. I don't want to buy a used truck off the lot. I can't do an oil sample. It's been cleaned up. The oil's been changed. Sometimes they'll swap tires to hide a front end problem. I don't like buying used trucks off the lot. I want to buy a used truck at an auction, and that's not for, people who aren't really good at buying trucks, or I want the dealer to go find something at the auction for me. And I tell them, don't change the oil, don't clean it up. I want to see it first. And here's what I want. Let them go see if they can find it.
That makes sense.
But I would, that's one thing, but I would redo your numbers here. This is not a time for a first-time buyer with $10,000 to be borrowing $100,000 and then sitting on it.
Well, with the debt ceiling debacle and all that stuff, and banks failing, I'm like, I need to.
No, you don't.
I thought it'd be best to jump in head first and get this before it dries up.
This is your first lesson, and the good news here is we can fix this mistake. It'll cost us a lot less if you go start looking for a $40,000 to $50,000 truck and take about $50,000 or $60,000 of this cash and just pay it back now.
Yeah, those $40,000 trucks, they all got 1 million plus miles on them.
I mean, you're paying. So what? So what? We don't even rebuild engines anymore. These engines go well past 1 million, and we can predict that. That's why I want to inspect the truck. I want to do a crankcase pressure test. I can tell how much wears on the cylinders. I want to do a good front end inspection. I can tell how bad the truck's been maintained or not, from all of those things. But the whole key to starting at the bottom, your costs better be as low as possible, and you better have a really solid plan. And your first move through your cost, you do realize that to borrow $100,000 at 10% interest costs you $10,000 a year.
Yeah, that's about what.
That will put you out of business. That's $10,000 you should have in your pocket, and it's gone to some finance company. It bought you nothing. If I spend $10,000, I better get something. You got nothing. You've got money sitting in the bank that's costing you money.
Yeah, so far it's cost me about $800.
$800 would have bought an awful lot of business books.
Right.
I would stop the plan and go back and fix this mistake, and then start over with the new plan. You shouldn't be borrowing $100,000.
So you're thinking I should only be borrowing half of that then?
Honestly,
If even
no.
that.
Yeah, correct. I would go even further, but we could do okay if you borrow 40 or 35 and put your 10 into the truck purchase. You'd be okay at that point. I'm not saying you can't borrow any money, but man, $100,000 at 10% interest, that's a chunk for nothing. You're not even planning on spending it all, even when you buy a truck. But I think 70 is too much for a truck for you right now. Truck prices are dropping fast. The bargains are already hitting out there. You got to look for them, but they're out there and they're going to keep coming.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
All right. Call me back. Let me know. We'll keep working through this. It's nice to be able to make mistakes that don't put you out of business and you learn something from. This could be one of those. We can pay a lot of this back. We can avoid a lot of that interest. And you'll remember this, and this is how we learn, by making mistakes. The risk of starting at the bottom. I talk a lot about the rewards of starting at the bottom, and I'm a big believer in it. The risk of starting at the bottom is you don't have a lot of leeway. We can't afford to be paying interest on tens of thousands of dollars that you're not even planning on using. And I know people say, well, what about an emergency? Well, when the emergency happens, if you have to, go borrow the money. But we should have been planning for an emergency already. Let's go to South Carolina. Terrence, welcome to the program.
What's up, Kev? I got a thing for Tony with this wrist on the watch. What I do with mine is I alternate wrists. You know, when I see my hand is getting, I just switch to the other wrist.
You know, Lisa's had some issues with her watch causing some skin irritation under there, but she gets that from rings sometimes too. I have zero issues. Mine has been on my left arm, and the only time it ever comes off is when it's being charged, and it's been like that since the watch came out, and I have zero issues. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, in the beginning I had it too, but what I do too is, I haul aggregate, so if I go to open my lift gate and stuff like that, I just had a load of ag line today, and I went to go lift the gate open, and it fell out, and some got on there, so it gets underneath it, so I just take it off and clean it.
Yeah.
But that's when, he said he was haul, I forget what he hauled, he was doing heavy haul and stuff. He's moving chains and stuff around. He's getting stuff underneath there, you know what I mean?
Could
just
be.
got to keep it clean. Yeah. That's what I always did. So.
Yeah. I'm digging in the dirt all the time and working with, plant foods and compost, and my watch is usually a mess, but never had any problems.
Yeah, that's all I got, man. I just wanted to see that's what I do. I alternate arms on it every now and then. If I get irritation
there you
or
go.
something underneath there, or it gets too white and I got to get it tanned up, I just switch it on.
There you go. All right, good stuff. We will head, we're going to go north of the border this time in Canada. Kyle, welcome.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Doing wonderful. What can I help you with today?
So I figured I'd give you an update to the quarterly diabetes checkups. And probably 10 years ago, I don't know if the numbers are the same as in Canada as they are in America, but my A1C was 21 10 years ago, and my latest checkup 2 weeks ago was down to 8.3.
Wow. No, the numbers are very different in Canada, like everything else. Your system's easier. but I don't use it, so sometimes I've got to break out the calculators. But that's an incredible improvement.
So basically, it's like I started walking every day, then I had my accident, so I wasn't walking as much. But the last 6 months, I make a point of walking probably 1.5 kilometers or so about a mile a day. Not all at once, but kind of throughout the day, I walk about a mile a day. But what I've done, I've taken out all the bread products, all the grain and everything, and all. Like, if I want pasta, I use, like, I've got a friend that makes almond flour pasta.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's kind of a worthwhile thing, but I've noticed a big change over the last, especially 2 years.
Excellent. Fantastic. What does your doctor say?
But my doctor is very happy that I've lost a lot of weight. Like, my heaviest weight was 433 pounds, and my last checkup when I went last week, I was down to about 280. So
excellent. So,
and it's just been I've been walking every day.
Good stuff. Keep it up. I'm sure you're feeling much better.
Well, I've got the reason I kind of had to see my doctor was I've got a sciatic nerve damage from my accident, and the reason that they figured it was damaged was because I've got a bulge in my L4, L5 in my lower spine from my accident. So they're at the point now of trying to figure out how severe it is by doing an MRI on my back. So they figure once I can kind of get that done, then I can get a little bit more mobility kind of going and get my walking back in again where I used to be.
Perfect. Excellent. You doing any resistance training at all?
Yeah, I do. I go to PT. I've been doing PT for 3 years now, and twice a week. Plus, I do kinesiology once a week, where we do a lot of like resistance, like bands and that kind of thing. Where I do not so much weight training, but I get on machines where it gets all the muscles moving, like all the different muscle groups moving.
Let me give you something to try. I'm very familiar with PT. I've busted enough bones in my body. I've been through it several times, busted both my hips, and I've been through PT. Honestly, it sucks. It's just another part of our medical system that is just awful. I promise you, rather than the machines and the stuff they have you doing, if you get an X3 bar, do the 10-minute workout 3 or 4 times a week, you'll get 10 times better resulls. Now, if they're doing something...
I've heard about that X3.
I can't imagine PT for 3 years. What the hell are they doing?
Well, basically what happened, when I had my accident, I was paralyzed from the waist down because of a blood clot on my spine. And so they were able to sonic treatment out the blood clot, so I was able to move my legs again. So it's basically been, I get out walking, I do my sit to stands, I do like resistance band on my arms, like I can twist again. And
so let me ask you a question.
So that's kind of what they do.
Resistance bands on the arm. Tell me what the workout is. How many reps, how many sets, that kind of thing.
So basically, like the bands are like, instead of facing the wall, I'm kind of on a 90-degree angle, and I grab the bar in front of me and I twist to the left 10 times, and I turn 180 degrees, so I'm facing to the right, and I twist the band in my hand like I'm holding it as close to the body as I can, and I twist to the right, and then I twist to the left.
And then what? So 10 times each to the left and the right. And
then I rotate that 3 times, and then
3 times,
do like,
3 sets. Like slow down. 3 sets of 10 each side.
3 sets of each side, and then I do like a lawnmower action, like starting more.
Bent rows.
I do 3 sets to that.
Here's part of the problem. The 3 sets is a total waste of time. You could be doing 1 set instead. And it's far more effective. Okay. 1 set to... So PT, again, you've been doing this kind of stuff for 3 years?
Yeah.
My God, in 3 years, I could have you competing in your age group in powerlifting and really. I mean, I can't imagine 3 years of PT of this kind of stuff, but you're not getting the kind of results you should be getting, or you wouldn't be doing PT anymore.
Well, it started off with me, like, basically learning how to walk again.
No, I get that. And in the beginning, when it's walking again, I don't have anything for that. And I'm not sure they're doing the best thing either, but I don't have anything. So I guess you do what they want you to do. And like I said, I've been through PT myself. I usually quit about as soon as I can. If they've got some really specific things, the PT on my hand was a joke. I did far better by going out in my garden and weeding. It was way better for my hand than anything they had me doing. So I'm just not a big fan of these things. Who's paying for all of this PT?
Well, I've only got 6 more sessions left, so six weeks left of PT, and then I'll pretty well be maxed out on what they can do for me.
No, they'll be maxed out on. No, what they're really maxed out on is who's ever paying for this doesn't want to pay for it anymore. That's all that's being maxed out.
Okay.
Because 3 years is way too long for a specific physical therapy. Come on. If it didn't heal in 6 months, that's long. Most of this stuff we should be able to heal in about a month or two. There's not anything all that complicated going on in there. All we're doing in PT is strengthening specific muscles.
Yeah, because at this point, like I've been able to, like I agree with you. It's just like they're doing is strengthening the hip muscles, the back muscles, and the shoulder muscles. Because I
get that. That's all PT is. PT is either making a muscle more flexible or making it stronger or both. Those things are fairly simple. And to think that it took 3 years is just insane.
Yeah.
We know how to build muscle.
Where I'm at with that one,
yeah, we know how to build muscle. And PT, I get it. They should understand the specific movements to strengthen a specific muscle. I went to one PT for my hand and said, this is a joke. Really.
Yeah. Okay, well, the last question I have for you, I heard the announcement of Peterbilt's new 579.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen this truck or not, but what's the difference between like the 379 and the 579? Because they look almost identical to me.
Well, what's your question? Have I seen the truck? Yes, I've seen it.
Okay. Do you? I guess the question is, do you notice the difference between the two?
Why would I care? There's 3 really good reasons I would never want this truck. So why would I spend any time trying to understand it? It's non-aerodynamic. That's a giant red X for me. No way am I putting a non-aerodynamic truck on the road and giving up $10,000 a year in profit. Why would I do that? On top of that, I just had a whole conversation of PACCAR doesn't have an engine or a drivetrain I would ever think about buying. I can't think of a truck that I would buy less than this one.
I've been a Freightliner guy pretty well all my career, and I love their Cascadia. Like I personally love the Cascadia with the DD package in it.
Perfect, me too.
But that's just me.
But why are you interested in this?
And I would say,
all?
like my last one. I'm not. Like, it was just, I don't understand why they even bothered to make a 500 series that looked identical to the 300 series.
Oh, who knows? I mean, it's just numbers. It's just models. That kind of stuff changes all the time. And many, many times, those numbers actually mean something. To us, it probably doesn't matter much, but a lot of times there are reasons for their numbering and their naming nomenclatures. But who cares, because this is just not a truck I would ever be interested in.
Yeah, because my last run that I was doing, I was averaging 9.25 miles a gallon doing the run that I was doing,
which is almost impossible out of a 579. I would say in today's world, it is virtually impossible.
I wouldn't want to give up. My estimation is 3 miles to the gallon minimum to go over to the 500 series.
It's one. It's a solid 1 mile per gallon if everything else is equal. Same drive line, same driver, same freight, same conditions. The aerodynamics account for 1 mile per gallon, which is big. That's $10,000 in today's world. Let's go to Maryland. Steve, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Kevin. We were talking about not knowing about Volvo shops. We actually have 2 excellent engine Volvo shops that are independent that are pretty well in pretty good areas. We have Paramount Truck Service in High Point. Clint Bankston, he was a master Volvo engine builder, went out on his own. He's got a bunch of master mechanics with him there now, and you got tons of people in your tribe that use him a lot.
Yep.
That are in Central North Carolina, and then you got Patrick Philman is at Kenosha Diesel Brothers truck service in Kenosha. Same thing. He was a master Volvo guy. He's and he is for Upper Midwest. He is fantastic. There's another good independent Volvo mechanical shop, not as much engine shop, in Circleville, Ohio. There on 23. It's a trucking company on the west side of the highway. You probably remember it. It's been there forever. But they do a lot of mechanical work for all kind of Volvos for anybody that comes in there. So that's another good Volvo shop right there in Ohio.
Excellent. But, think about it, though. That's 3 parts of the country kind of scattered out, So are you close enough to be able to use one of those as your primary shop? And you don't have to live right there. I mean, I could see setting up an operation where my freight took me to those places a lot. But look at Volvo's been selling engines in this country for 20 plus years. We're just now getting to the point where we have master technicians going out on their own, and I love that. But PACCAR's nowhere near that. There are no master technicians for PACCAR.
Oh, no.
And if they are, they're so inexperienced that it'd be a shame to call them a master technician, really.
Yeah, I'm expecting PACCAR to put a hit out on you at any point.
They might, yeah.
No, but they might, but yeah, and with all, of course, in my good luck is, I'm between the coast of North and South Carolina and Wisconsin, so I get to go by all 3 of them. I've used them all. They're all excellent shops. Like I say, here's my thing is I like to have them spread in my area. If I'm going to get any suspension work done, Jim Fowler's going to do it up at Michigan MD Alignment because he's in my area. I'd love to be the Chad all the time, but Chad's not in my area. And Jim is doing all of the suspension work that goes along with the alignment work up there, and Jim. And so he's got a fantastic shop up there in Allen, Michigan, there by Coldwater. Yep. That's a fantastic shop. So I'm going to get my DD15, get anything done here on the engine. I'm going on up. I'm getting a load to Pittsburgh. Saxonburg. And, so that's the thing. I tell people, you got to find these shops, then you got to build a relationship with them and, let them, and then let them know that you're singing their praises when they do good work. That's another thing. And, because, a lot of people don't know that, just show them that love, have you a good shop at home. I've got a good shop at home that was independent. Freightliner bought them. Same mechanics, but now we have Freightliner pricing along with great mechanics that, it's a little high.
Clearly based on what I do, I had an advantage in this area, but that was part of what I do. I was able to promote shops that I built good relationships with, trusted. I was able to promote them heavily because of what I do and help other people understand about them. And guess what? I mean, of course that shop's going to treat me differently. They should. I bring them a lot of business. That's how relationships work. Yeah. The more value I bring to them, the more value they should try to bring to me. So I can tell you that at one of my shops with, a couple hundred FedEx trucks all trying to get in on Sunday and Monday because that's the only days the trucks don't run most of the time, I had an advantage in that area. That's relationship building. That's how business works. So, when I see some of these drivers who have built big followings on social media, and maybe it's because they sing or tell jokes or whatever, who cares? You got a following, use it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the key out here. It's not just with customers. I mean, the relationships in every aspect of the business now.
Yes.
Absolutely. Getting back contract freight. I've got a contract customer that they haven't gone down yet, but machines go down. I've never been late in 7.5 years, and I expect it may happen if they have the biggest change when get a new traffic manager comes in. You know what they're going to do? They're going to try to show how good they are at reducing the expenses that first year. That could happen then. But all things being equal, the relationship I have with the shipper, receiver, and the fact that it's never late. It was late all the time before because the drop yards with the carriers. So that, you feel that you got that situation. I have contract freight right now that is following, like you say, is following the rates down somewhat.
Right.
And with Landstar, we have a lot of customers that we are the safety valve. When the tender rejection rate was up at 25 to 28%, there were about 200 loads of Harbor Freight every week for Landstar. Well, right now the tender rejection rate's 1.8%.
Yeah.
Nobody's kicking their loads back now.
Right.
So our load count has dropped quite a bit there.
Yeah.
And that's one of my bread and butters for getting out. But I've made 4 other relationships that I've got 5 different things get me to the Midwest.
There you go.
They're not paying Harbor Freight money,
So
but
what?
they're paying decent money.
Right.
They're not. Yeah.
And you have
it.
options.
It gets me there to where the big money is.
And you have options.
And I have options.
Yep.
And right. I'm not going to do 7,000 a week like I did last year. 5,000, 5,500. But most guys are out there 2,500 to 3,000 a week. That's all they're doing. A lot of people, and that's sad. But
that
but
topic
that's all they
of
didn't do the hard work.
Exactly. That topic of having options really for me is the same topic as being prepared. That's what being prepared means to me in any area. Being prepared means I have more options.
Yep.
If the power to my house goes out, I've got a whole house generator that runs on propane. That's an option. If for some reason that would fail or I ran out of propane, I have a full generator on the coach, runs off diesel, and there's always 150 gallons of diesel in the tank when it's parked here. I have another generator in the Sprinter, and it's got solar and propane. And then I have an electric generator that can run an awful lot of stuff, freezers, and there's options. That's what I mean about being prepared. Same thing in business. If one freight dries up, I have other options that I've kind of maintained relationships with, or you just keep my hands in that pie so I know what's going on. For me, being prepared means having lots of options for when things go wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So, but like I say, we got those options out here now. I know, every time I see one, I know I send it to you. You probably already seen them. All of these died suddenly, just like, I send you one and another and another. It is getting crazy out there. And everybody say, every one of them say, a reason, a cause of death was not given.
Exactly.
And but they never come back and say later, well, he did die of, there are tons of strokes, there are tons of, and so that tells you right there that they don't want that information out there because they know what it would look like. So
it's kind of scary to think that this is going on, and it's been going on for 3 years, and yet nobody seems to know about it yet. And then there are groups out there, it's not happening. Those are just normal statistics. No, they're not. I'm sorry, they're just not. You don't even have to look at statistics. Look at how many politicians, celebrities, sports figures, how many of them this is happening to. And think back through your life. It's never been like this. We hear about them because they're famous. Yeah. We don't hear about your next door neighbor when this happens to them.
Right. Well, the problem with everybody says it's conspiracy theory. The problem with the conspiracy theories, they've all come true.
Exactly.
We've got to invent more of them because they are all coming true.
Well, now one of the big topics in the news seems to be UFOs and space aliens. I think we're running out of conspiracy theories because they're all true. We have to get more and more crazy now.
Yeah, I think they want to make things sound real crazy, so that they won't believe anything out there that they label a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, exactly.
Perception's everything. Well, look, we appreciate everything you guys do for us. Just keep up the good work.
Will do. Thanks for the call. Let's go to Connecticut this time. Matthew, welcome.
Hey, Kevin, how are you doing?
Good. What's on your mind this week?
Hey, so I live in Connecticut. I think we're going to be leaving end of August down to Georgia to be moving. So we want to buy a multifamily, but the market ain't right. So second bet might be we buy a fifth wheel camper, tow it with my semi truck, and then possibly hang out there. And then we were thinking of buying land and then renting it out to other people and also building on a house. How does that sound? And if so, what kind of RV would you recommend? We were looking at the...
Oh, hey, hold on a second. You've been breaking up the whole time. I got like every other word. Start over. Let's try that again.
Yeah, so I live in Connecticut. We're leaving end of August, moving to Georgia. Me and my wife want to buy multi-families for a second income, but the market ain't right. So second bet might be that we buy an RV fifth wheel camper and then maybe eventually buy a bunch of land and then rent it to other RVs and then possibly build a house off that.
Got it. Okay.
And if I was wondering your intake on that, and if we should get a new or used
I would get
camper,
used.
how would you feel on that?
I would get used.
You think?
It's one of those, and it doesn't have to be real used. It's one of those things. There are always, I know so many people have done this. They get close to retirement. They want to go do the RV thing. They look at coaches. They're too expensive. They're complicated. Instead, they decide to go buy a pickup truck and a fifth wheel. I have story after story of people who get freaked out because they get into RV parks and they don't know how to back up and the RV's breaking down constantly. 3 months later, they want to sell this thing. I've seen it happen so many times. Those are the bargains. Those are the campers you want to look for. Less than a year old.
Okay. Any specific year? Okay.
Usually the best
we're looking at a
bargains are sometimes
2017.
less than a year old.
Okay.
But
gotcha.
not always.
We're looking at a 17. They wanted 46,000, and then the new 23. Well, it was Jayco. It was a 21, and the guys were trying to hit me with 84,000, and it was used. I felt like that was kind of high, but also I'm not too sure in the RV market how everything's all janky.
So we could sit here and we could talk about different makes and different models, and should we go high end because they last longer, or should we go low end because this may be temporary? Jayco, I will tell you, is low end. Thor seems to be buying up everybody now, and Thor, unfortunately, in my opinion, is one of the worst. This is the whole Camping World phenomenon, and they bought everything in the RV industry, and a lot of their stuff is just junk. I have a utility trailer that I bought, and it was last minute. I really didn't have, I didn't plan well, so I had to buy this thing last minute for an event. Total junk. I mean, I'm just shocked at how poor quality these things are. A lot of fifth wheels are that way. Sometimes just because they have to build these things so light. Everybody wanted bigger and bigger.
Even the ones that are aluminum or fiberglass.
It doesn't
Would
really...
Would that be a big difference or anything?
Aluminum tends to be even lower end, but it's all the other stuff. The interior, every component on it has been lightened up because people want to pull 43-foot toy haulers with a bunch of crap in them with a pickup truck. And you know what? They might have plenty of torque and transmission. The brakes aren't up to par. So they lighten these things up so much that the quality's just awful on them. Even the better brands aren't. I mean, Dutchman at one point when they were completely independent was a slightly better build, maybe mid-level. We tore ours up. My God, I was constantly working on that thing. Axles, brakes, tires, wheel bearings. They're just too light.
Okay.
So now, here's the good news.
Yeah, we don't really plan to travel.
You're parking it. That helps a lot because you're mostly just going to park it and live in it.
Right.
So I would say if you can get a deal on a 2017, fantastic. I just would not buy brand new.
Okay. Do you think 46 for a 2017? I think it was Keystone, Montana, kind of high.
It sounds high to me, but I don't know because I haven't been in that market for several years. So I'd have to go study that market. Off the top of my head, that sounded high.
Okay. Gotcha.
Now, here's the other thing. How much time do you have on this?
As in, what do you mean?
When do you need to buy this RV?
My lease is up end of August 31st, so we kind of plan on a month ahead and kind of like slowly make our way and move
So pretty
down
quickly.
and pick a spot.
Pretty
Yeah.
quickly, yeah. So you're not going to have a time to do a ton of research, but you can do a lot of reading. You can compare a lot of prices. We don't really have time to wait for them to drop anymore. I think we are
Right.
nowhere near the bottom on RVs. RVs always take a
You don't
big
think
hit.
it would drop in the next 2 months due to the 24s coming out?
I think it will, but it won't be the bottom. But it'll be
Okay.
better. That's why I was wondering how much time can we
Right.
push this out a little farther might make a big difference.
Okay. Yeah,
That-
since we go down south, we really don't want to buy an apartment, and we want to buy like a multifamily, but the market's not right, and then I got to
No.
figure out where to park my semi truck, and
I love
don't
the
know.
idea. Getting property, throwing an RV or something up on there. You know what you might also want to do, what? Because you're going to be out shopping anyway. There are so many more
Right.
of these on the market. Now, make sure when you're shopping for RVs, shop for tiny homes.
Okay. All
There's
right.
a ton of
Now,
these
if
on
we
the
were to
market
like
now.
rent, what are you
And-
talking about, like the 40-foot containers or like the other tiny homes?
Any of them. There's several ways
I see
people
a couple.
are. Yeah,
Okay.
containers are actually fairly expensive. I'm looking at building a container home on some property I've got now, and I'm shocked at how expensive it is to build in a container home. I like it. I like it a
Really?
lot, but there are less expensive ways of building tiny homes than containers. But all I'm saying is
Right.
that's a new market that didn't even really exist much 5 years ago. And now I find used tiny homes all over the place.
Right. And
The thing that's
if we
nice
were
about
to
a
rent
tiny
out, buy
home,
some land.
let me give you because
Yeah.
you're talking about multi and rentals, and I love that idea too. That's what I'm doing. You put a Jayco RV on a lot, and you're going to get $80 a night for it on Airbnb. Put a tiny home, a custom tiny home on that same lot, you're going to get $300 a night.
Okay. Yeah, we were talking about like having other campers come in, we rent that out, and then possibly maybe eventually we build a house a couple acres away from that, and then my wife will take care of all that while I'm out on the road, if that's...
There's a service out there now, 2 of them at least, and I can't remember the name of them. I've got them bookmarked somewhere, but they're basically like Airbnb for RV spots. So you don't have to have a full-blown RV park. You can just have one, like I have a hookup in my driveway. I have full hookups for our coaches. If I wanted to, I could join this club, this service, and I could just have people staying in my driveway at night.
Right. Nice.
Yeah, and
Might as well, right?
on my property over in Washington, if I had time, I have electric and, and water. I just don't have all the hookups done, but I could probably make quite a bit of money. It's a beautiful lot in the woods with views of the river and the gorge, and we're eventually going to build on it someday. But in the meantime, I'm probably going to use it. I may put up some yurts. I may put up a tiny home. We may put up RV spots, just a couple, whatever we could fit, and rent them out. Just draw a little revenue off of them.
You think that would be best bet to do? Maybe get the RV, buy some land, rent it out to other campers, and then we build a house? Or should we get the RV, rent it out while we go to someplace for so-and-so months, and then we buy a multi? Do you think we should do the land, or you think the multi-house, but the marketing's absolute trash?
That's
so
more
kind
of a
I don't know.
preference than anything else. What would you rather be doing, really?
Okay. Right. Eventually we like to get 2 going, but gotta start somewhere, I guess.
Yeah.
And then also the 13.5 for, I think it was for the AC, is that enough to handle the heat down south, you think? I never really experienced too much RV besides just checking them in. They weren't all hooked up, so that was my next question. If the AC is cranking enough to handle high temps
13.5
throughout the day.
BTUs?
I think it was 13.5 in the bedroom, then it was 15, I think, in the
the bedroom is usually much easier to cool
living
because
room.
you can usually close it up really tight and it's pretty easy to cool. Here, it's enough. Here's what you're going to want to do, though. You're going to want awnings and shade. That's the real trick here.
Okay.
You know, awnings on the, if you have slide outs,
Right.
awnings on the slide outs, awnings over the slide outs. It maybe even put up a shelter of some sort. If you can keep the sun off of it directly, those air conditioners will work just fine. If the sun is beating through the windows and the whole surface of the RV all day, it's probably going to struggle in the middle of the day.
Okay. And also, I have be pulling my semi truck, but it's a sliding fifth wheel. You think that would be an issue, or would be better off doing the hitch? Like I got a custom hitch on the back of the semi, and then get the converter 7 plug. I think it was.
Wait.
Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't.
If you're getting a fifth wheel, how are you going to use a hitch?
Well, I got the semi truck, so I was gonna hook it up to the fifth wheel, but I also hear with like the bumps and stuff, taking it down the road, it kind of chews up the RV. So my next guess, if the fifth wheel will be okay, or should I get like a custom hitch on my work truck, semi truck?
You don't mean a hitch though. You mean a custom fifth wheel.
Yeah, you don't think the fifth wheel as is would fit in the pin?
I don't.
Or is that too small?
I never attempted to connect a fifth wheel RV to a standard size truck fifth wheel. I don't know if they connect or not. I never even looked, because that will beat that trailer to death. Now, if you're only moving at one time, I guess it might be okay. So when I did this, I had an Air Ride RV fifth wheel installed on the tractor. The other option is to put...
That's the one with the shock too?
It had a shock and a big airbag, right.
Oh, okay.
Now, the one that I bought, and I don't even know if they're still around, I'd have to go do the homework, they had to replace it twice. The whole thing would bend. And they swore it was, super heavy duty. They looked at the weights I was pulling and they said, not a problem at all. After they sent me 2 new ones because I bent the hell out of the first 2, as soon as I saw the third one, I thought, you didn't fix the problem. So we actually welded gussets in, and it stopped it. That's all it took. We had to weld a couple gussets in, but as soon as I looked at it, I thought, that looks like a weak spot. And sure enough, it was. It started bending on the first day we used it. And they sent me another one, said they improved it. The next one started bending in the first week. They sent me the third one. And this is a pain in the ass. These things are heavy. They're expensive to ship. It's a lot of work to keep replacing them. And I looked at the third one and I said, it's going to bend. And we welded some gussets in it and it was fine. They also make some really nice Air Ride Air Ride, what am I talking about? Kingpin. No, not kingpins. What's the word I want? It's not the fifth wheel. It's the pin itself on the trailer can be Air Ride.
Huh.
There's a name for that piece that you connect to the pin, and I'm just drawing a total blank on it. But that can be Air Ride.
Okay.
So the shock and the airbag is on the fifth wheel trailer itself, not on the truck.
Right. To take off the fifth wheel, because this is also the daily for the bread and butter. So,
but I have zero experience trying to hook an RV fifth wheel to a full size fifth wheel plate on a tractor. I never even attempted it. Didn't even read about it. Yeah, it wasn't an option for me.
Okay. All right. I guess I'll maybe hook up and go from there. Because I don't plan to do 65. I'll probably do like 50, 55, and it's only from Connecticut to Georgia. I think it's like 500 something miles. So I want to say it'll be all right, but I don't know if I should take that and risk or not. I don't know.
You could, if you can hook up to it and see there's not going to be any issues, I would drive it an hour or two around locally and then start inspecting things. If anything's going wrong or there's any real stress, you're going to see it.
Okay. All right. Guess I'll do some more digging.
Then the other thing I would do on that trip, I would probably drop my drive tires down to about 70 or 80 pounds of pressure.
Yeah? Okay.
Make them really soft.
All right. Right. That'll work then.
All right. If you have any other questions, give me a holler. Let's go to New Hampshire. Jim, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin. Hey, I picked up one of your the detox kits there for the tooth powder and stuff.
Yeah.
And I got to say, it was a little bit weird at first using the powder after using commercial toothpaste for, 53 years.
Right.
But after a couple of days, I really started liking it. and I've been using it for about 2 weeks now. I tell you, my mouth and my teeth have never felt like cleaner and healthier than they do now.
Isn't it crazy? And start watching. The color of your gums will get more and more pink. You'll actually be able to see the gums starting to pull back a little on the tooth so we don't have those big inflamed pockets around our teeth. I got to say, Lisa, most of the products we do in the store, usually I'm the one out looking for products, that kind of thing. Lisa, she did this on her own. I didn't even know she had mentioned it here and there. And when I first looked at it, she brought it to me and said, here's what I've found. What do you think? And I looked at it and I thought, it looks really good. But man, I am just not sure if this is going to be something we want in the store or not. I will tell you, it might be one of the best products we've ever brought in. The feedback on this from across the board has just been excellent. And my feedback as well, I love this stuff.
Yeah, and if how it actually makes your mouth feel means anything, I mean, it just makes it feel incredible. And I do have gum disease, so I have the pockets in between the gums and my teeth, and I use a water pick that I bring with me in the truck, a little battery-powered water pick. It's got a little water tank on it.
Yeah.
And I've been putting like 2 or 3 drops of the gum drops in the water and mix it around.
Good.
And I spray that down, in between the teeth and gums.
Excellent.
And it feels awesome. Do you think every time I go to my dentist every 3 months to get my teeth cleaned because I have these pockets?
That'll stop.
And they keep because they keep referring me to the periodontist.
Correct.
I went there once.
Here's what I'm predicting.
And for a small fee of $7,000, they'll surgically remove some of my gums so I won't have those pockets.
Let's think about that, though. So first off, $7,000 is an awful lot of money. I'm sure this is not a comfortable procedure to sit through. And have we addressed the root cause of the problem?
No, they're just removing parts.
Yeah, they're going to come back. Those pockets will come back, I promise you. You're going to end up with inflammation again.
I never thought about that.
They will come back over time. Now, here's what else. Here's what I want you to do. When you go to your next appointment, don't say a word about this. Don't talk to your dentist. Don't say anything until they give you your results. Because here's what I promise you. You use this twice a day. Just follow the instructions. By the time you get there, I bet your pockets are going to be cut in half. And the dentist is going to go, look, our treatment's working. And you can go, well, let me tell you what I've been doing. And then watch what they say.
Right, yeah. I've stopped using toothpaste and I stopped using the mouthwash and all that.
Right. And here's what I'm using. And you just told me my gums are healthier than they've been in years.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I go back in September, so I look forward to that.
Perfect.
When I go there, they always give you that rinse, like they want you to rinse first. Should I just tell them I don't want to do that? Like, yes. I'll brush my teeth and I'll use the gumdrops before I go. I just tell them I don't want to use their rinse and stuff.
Yep, because their rinse kills bacteria. All of their treatment. Now, here's the other thing you may want to consider. You may want to consider switching to a biological dentist. So you don't have to fight them on all this stuff. Because I promise you, they're going to fight you on it. They almost always do. Oh, no, this rinse is crucial. No, it's not crucial. And all that crap you've been doing to me all these years is why I have these pockets and why you now want to operate on me.
Right. And when I leave, when they're all done with everything, they take like a syringe and they put even like stronger, it tastes like alcohol.
Yeah.
And they stick it in between. They stick it in between, they stick it down in those little pockets. And they rinse out those little pockets with this stuff that tastes horrible.
Because here's what they believe, or what they've been taught and trained on and believe, is that it is bacteria that causes all the problems, and they are correct. Bacteria causes gum disease, and bacteria causes cavities, and bacteria causes bad breath. It is bacteria. They believe you have to constantly wipe out the bacteria so you don't have these problems. But that's what leads to worse problems. Now we keep wiping out the bacteria with all these products, and then more bad bacteria grows back. So now we have to do the treatments more often. And you see the results. But now you see the other results when what we focus on is giving the good bacteria an environment to live in and gently trying to kill the bad bacteria, not using the nuclear option.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to going back in September just to see, and I will. I'm not going to say anything at first.
Good.
I'm going to wait till they,
Yep.
till they give me the exam first.
I can't wait till you call me after that.
I've called before. Yeah, I'll definitely call you after that. I've called before and told you all the great results I've had from the keto and mostly carnivore and all that. I'm the guy who I posted a couple pictures jumping in the river in the middle of January up here in New Hampshire.
Love that.
So I've lost like 70 pounds. I just got another sleep study done last month, and I'm off the CPAP machine now.
Fantastic. Congratulations. That's a big deal.
No longer on any medications. I used to be on anti-anxiety and high blood pressure medication, all that. So in September, I go back for my physical. I've been on a 1-year card for like 10 years, so I'm hoping to get my 2-year card now that I'm finally off the CPAP machine.
I think you will. Jim, you're like a new human being. Isn't it awesome?
Oh, I am.
I know.
I
love that.
I'm 53 years old, and I feel better than I have in years.
I know. I love it.
All right, I'll call you back after my next dentist appointment, Kevin.
All right, looking forward to it. You don't have to wait that long. Let's go to Colorado. Joe, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin. I was just going to answer some questions with that fifth wheel hauling an RV. I deliver RVs for a living. I have a flatbed that I do like 3 small ones. But occasionally when I my trailer's in, I'll move the full-size fifth wheels with my semi. And the answer is that the kingpin on the fifth wheel is exactly the same as a kingpin on any semi-trailer. So it hooks right up to the truck. The only thing that you... Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I kind of thought that it did. I never tried it. I never bothered to look because I didn't want to do it. What kind of issues do you have, if any?
The issue that you have is you got to go from your 7 round pin to a 7 blade.
Right.
And the problem that you have with the 7 blade versus the 7 round is your brake line and your turn signal is separate, where on the 7 blade, the brake and turn signal are linked. So the other thing you have to do is you have to put in a electric brake controller in order for the brakes on the trailer to work. And the problem that you have there is if you don't put in a diode on each one of the turn signals, it will bleed over to your brake lead. So then every time you turn left or right, it will apply the brakes. So you got to do a one-way diode on your on each one of your turn signals, so that it will only go the one way, so it won't go back and feed back into the brake line. Which you can buy the one-way diodes like at eTrailer.com. They sell them.
Got it. Yeah, I had some, some custom brake controllers on mine, and I don't remember those wiring issues, but I must have went through all that too when we made the conversion. I remember it took us a while to get it all wired right, but I don't remember the details.
Yeah, it's easy once you know just know that you're going to have that feedback, and then you do the electric brake controller.
So you must not be seeing damage to these trailers as you're delivering them. I mean, it must do okay.
No. They do fine. I'm just a little extra paranoid when I'm delivering because they're all out there and they're like paper mache.
Yeah,
if something hits them.
And I will say, if you try to pull one of these things around on a standard truck, fifth wheel setup, semi truck, you will beat it to death. Maybe one trip delivering them is not that big of a deal, but you will pound those things hard if you don't do a ping tank. We've talked about as an option. You add a second air tank and plumb it into the airbags, and that gives you more volume in the airbags so they can be softer. That's one way. Or the custom Air Ride fifth wheel, which for this guy isn't really going to work because he still uses the truck to work. Or he could get the custom Air Ride hook on the trailer itself. Those would be the 3 options. But if all he's doing is moving it down there one time and parking it, it sounds like he can just get his wiring right, hook it up to his regular fifth wheel, and just go.
Yeah, you should be able to. Shouldn't be any problem there. And you can use any brake controller. You just got to find the whatever fuse is for the
Yeah,
tail lights for the brake.
I'll tell you what I had that I really liked. I had it. I didn't have all the goofy stuff up in the cab that you get a lot of times with the electric brake controllers. What I used was an air over electric. So everything was mounted back by the fifth wheel. There was nothing up in the cab really. Like a lot of the brake controllers, you got all the lights and the controls up there in the cab. I had nothing in the cab. Mine was air over electric. And the way it worked was the more air pressure it felt through the brake line, the more it applied the electric brakes. And once I got it tweaked, it had adjustments. Once I got it tweaked, I really liked that setup.
Oh, that setup's great, but it's like 10 times as much as just a cheap electric brake controller.
It is.
You're moving it just one time. That's all you're doing.
Right. But I was full time, and we put
not
a
all of us
lot
have the
of
money,
miles
the
on
deep
ours.
pockets you have.
Well, for me, it was necessary. I mean, I wasn't. There was no way. Because first off, I was heavy, really heavy. And I had singled out my tractor. So you got good, strong brakes on the tractor, but it's a single axle. My biggest problem was certainly not going up hills. It was coming down hills. I would get those damn trailer brakes hot. So having that air over electric really helped quite a bit for me. But again, I put a lot of miles on mine, and we were driving around heavy all the time.
Yeah, and as far as like brands and makes and quality, out there right now, like Keystone and your Forest Rivers, they're all owned by Warren Buffett's hedge fund.
Thor, basically.
Yeah, and they've made a lot because I deliver these things, and they've made a lot of cuts to their quality control.
Well, that's bad because 10 years ago their quality sucked. So if they've made cuts, I can't even imagine how bad it's getting now.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. I mean, usually you take them to the dealership, and they check them in, and there's like 100 things on there that they have to fix.
Yep. I'm not surprised at all.
Now, the one I know for a fact is there's Grand Design, but they have an entire department dedicated to before they even go out, they have a complete quality control. And now I understand they make a really solid trailer.
Now you're talking about a different tier of quality. So Grand Design, Mobile Suites, Tiffin's trailer division was much, much higher end, but they've already sold that to Thor now. So that one will go downhill. But yeah, if you get up into that next tier, you can get better quality. Dutchman was up in that. But you got to be careful. These things are getting bought mostly by Thor. And
I lived in my fifth wheel for about 4 years before I started driving truck when I sold my business in California. And I'm telling you what, living in it, even though it's just parked, it puts a whole lot more use to it, and the quality makes a big difference, especially when you're living in it.
So the difference is if you're going to be pulling one around a lot, a fifth wheel, putting a lot of miles on it, you absolutely should go to the top tier. You will work on these things constantly. Yeah. If you park it and live in it, now you don't have to worry about the mechanical stuff, axles, brakes, that kind of stuff. But boy, you got to worry about air conditioning and electrical and plumbing. And you're right. They're not, the fifth wheels are not made for full time, either driving or living. They're made for people that go camping a couple times a year, or maybe park it at the lake for the summer.
And the insulation is not very good on the lower end one. So like the AC will be running all the time. In the winter times it's gonna be hard to heat.
Yep.
And the main thing he's gonna want to do if he's parking it, he's gonna want to put a skirt all the way around the bottom to keep the air from going up underneath it, because that makes a big difference on keeping it cool and heating it.
Yep, you're right. Yeah, there are lots and lots of tricks. Awnings keep the sun off of the body of the trailer itself, because that'll heat up fast. Skirts, all of that stuff really makes a difference. So they're not designed for that, but there's some hacks that you can do to make this work out pretty well. Let's go to Wisconsin. Randy, welcome.
Yeah, hi, Kevin. Just to add to the fifth wheel, because I did it, with my fifth wheel plate slid all the way back, I had about 6 inches clearance between the frame and the camper, so not an option. But I did the goose box, they call it, on the front of the fifth wheel. It converts it to a goose ball. and basically just welded a 4x4 square tube across the inside of the frame with the receiver kind of goose ball in that to pull the camper with, and it was air ride. Worked real well.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen some pretty interesting setups out there.
So, yeah, I had it on Trucking Tribe, but Curtis, they make a little converter for the wiring too. From a brake link to separated like it is on a tractor to combined like it is on a trailer. And I pulled the car trailer behind it. So I spent like a week wiring the shit.
Oh, I know it can get pretty crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All after that, I'm probably not going to pull it again, but oh well.
Yeah.
Another thing, the primal life dental thing. My mouth feels great using that stuff.
Isn't it crazy?
I don't know what it is.
I never expected. I expected it to be.
It feels cleaner than ever.
I expected it to be better than normal stuff, but I did not expect the kind of results I'm getting, and the feedback is across the board. We haven't heard a single negative comment about any of it.
It feels really good after.
It does.
Is that oil? Is that like oil of oregano, or what kind of oil is that?
It's got multiple oils in it. I'm actually, I want to talk to them about whether or not they will put that out in bigger bottles. I would love to use their oil for oil pulling, but there's just not enough oil in those little bottles to do oil pulling every day. So I got a note that I want to reach out to them and see if we can get that oil in bigger bottles, because I'd love that stuff.
Yeah, I'm really digging it. And then last, I'm an N14 guy. Love it. Got mine doing 8.5.
Nice.
To the gallon. Now.
Excellent. Yeah, that is that. I wish I would have paid a little more attention to it. I was just so happy with the Series 60s that I just didn't bother. But I think that engine had a lot of potential that we may not have tapped into.
The one thing for me is it's easier to work on. Three separate cylinder heads, rocker boxes, and everything. One guy can pull the stuff off. I mean,
it really is.
One head, I don't know.
Yeah, it really is a nice, simple, easy to work on engine.
It is, and it's reliable. Cam position sensors, I go through those like once every a year.
I used to replace the cam sensors on the Series 60. I've replaced a couple of those, but that was just I call that engine bulletproof. I mean, it's really one of the most reliable engines I've seen. Let's go to California this time. Jeremy, welcome to the program.
Hi, Kevin. I had a couple questions, but I guess I'll throw my RV talk in. Let's say if I guess my dream would be, or the thought of traveling maybe later is, well, I had a question. Is your Sprinter, is that built out like an RV?
Yeah, it's a Pleasureway conversion. Pleasureway's out of Saskatoon. Really, really nice build. I mean, we looked at a lot of different builds. From Airstream actually builds a Sprinter, and Airstream is super high quality. I like the Pleasureway better than the Airstream even.
Yeah. Okay. Do you feel like you have enough room and everything's fine?
No. No, there's not enough room for anything. This is tiny, tiny living at its finest. There's not enough room for anything in the Sprinter. There's not enough room for stuff. There's not enough. It's tight in there.
Yeah. Yeah, like good for like going down the road and moving around a little, your passengers and stuff. Maybe.
Well, here's the other thing I'll tell you about it. So in most of them, and the Pleasureways no exception, the bed is usually a kind of like a J-bed seat in the very, very back. So it can be like a bench seat with seat belts and all that, would sit 3 people on it. Then it folds down flat. That's a really common setup. You can't ride back there. It is the worst ride I have ever seen. You're about 4 feet behind the back axle, and it's a tandem because we have the 3500, and the ride is awful back there. Yeah. Like, we don't ever do it. Nobody ever goes back there and sits for anything much more than maybe a trip to the store. So as far as that being a seat back there, in my mind, it's completely worthless. If I were going to make any change to the Pleasureway, I would take that whole seat out and I would build a platform bed much higher up than I could have more storage under it. That whole conversion is just a waste of time. It doesn't work as a seat.
Got it. And what about, isn't there a seat like or couch, like jackknife couch behind the two
It depends
captain
on
chairs? Like,
it
is there
depends on the
in the
model.
middle?
Some have 4 captain's chairs, some have 3 captain's chairs and a workstation. We went with 2 front seats only because if you try putting any other seating behind those seats, you lose a bathroom or something. Like our bathroom, I can take a shower in it. You basically either sit on the toilet and take a shower or straddle it and take a shower, and it's tiny. But if you try putting seats in, then you lose that even. So everything.
Do you have a kitchen? Like
there's a kitchen, a 2-burner propane stove, 2-burner propane stove, a microwave. That's a convection microwave, a decent sized sink. But other than clothes and food, there's virtually no storage inside. So things like tools, jacks, cables, cords, outdoor stuff. We have a tote on the back of ours that slides into the hitch, a big tote, because you have to have that or pull a trailer. And I would rather pull a trailer.
That's what I was thinking.
You've got to have something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
We use
have a van with like a little trailer.
We use the tote a lot because Lisa actually used the van. It's almost like her personal vehicle now. She drives it almost everywhere when she goes somewhere. So we put the tote on it. If I were going to do any serious traveling in it, I would have a trailer.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thought would be good. Like as far as maybe fuel mileage, maybe versus something else.
We get 22 miles to the gallon out of that thing. It's incredible the kind of fuel economy you can get out of them.
Oh, okay. So it is good for that.
If I said right now, hey, I'm going to go to my next speaking event, and instead of taking the coach, I'm just going to jump in the Sprinter, it cost me 1/4 in fuel.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Is that a diesel engine or?
It's a very small 4-cylinder diesel, 3 liter.
Okay.
I think small turbo, but
what's your pick?
So there is 2 in the Sprinter. There's 2. Our first one was even smaller engine. Now that thing we got 2 or 3 more miles to the gallon out of that one. If I babied it, I could get 25 out of that one. But put a trailer behind that thing and it is a dog. So don't get the smaller one. The smaller engine, in my opinion, was not worth the couple extra miles per gallon you got out of it.
How about the Ford, same type of model, the Transit 350 or something? What do you? Never heard you talk about Ford and stuff.
All,
and Chevy. What do you think about
all I will say is Ford and Mercedes. You decide.
Oh, okay.
It's exactly what you would expect. The Mercedes is a much, much better quality build, just across the board. But not everybody needs or wants that much quality. So the Ford would be just fine if that's the quality that you want and you're not going to use it as often and it's not a business write-off and you don't have the budget, that the Fords can be fine. As far as space and all that they're comparable. Towing, engine, fuel mileage, all of that's comparable. Features, it's really the only difference is quality.
Ford, though, they don't have the diesel, or do they? They have a diesel.
Oh, you know what?
Probably gas.
That's another engine. That's another I never even looked at that. And if that's the case, then for me, I would never do this with gas, but that's just me.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure they're fine.
Texas to California, is that too much on something like that?
Do what?
Texas to California trips, is that like too many miles for those kind of things?
Oh, no.
Not,
No.
Once twice a year? Oh, okay.
Again, we use it for business. We can write a lot of this off. So for me, I really like the Mercedes with the Pleasureway conversion. But they're expensive. I mean, really expensive. Not that I would buy one, but a lot of people that go wing foiling are using the Sprinters because they've got a lot of room, and you can, if I head down to the river and the wind dies, I can go in there and work or take a nap and wait for the wind to come back up again. So I was thinking about one, and I won't use ours because that's Lisa's vehicle, and it's not set up for that anyway. But I see a lot of them set up that way, and they do a lot of the shorties with 4-wheel drive and single wheels, the 2500 instead of the dual. So just out of curiosity, I went and looked. Pleasureway builds a 4-wheel drive Sprinter on the short body with single wheels, not the dual wheels, $220,000.
I know.
I almost choked. I'm
That's
like,
Airstream,
you gotta
right?
be. No, that was the Pleasureway.
The
Pleasureway 4-wheel drive.
Yeah, Airstream's pretty much the same. Yeah.
Now on the Sprinters now.
Oh yeah, the 4-wheel drive.
You can spend over $200,000 on Sprinters now.
That's just yeah. I thought about bringing snowboards and that's towing a trailer, but like snowboards, surfboards, and barbecue. A grill in there and having some sort of like toy hauler thing, a short one, but just. My thought of my setup would be, but then I also like those Renegades, the bigger ones, but diesel. But I don't know.
Renegade. Honestly, we looked at Renegade. We went to the factory. We started building one and designing one and planning one. And honestly, I was not very happy with the Renegade interiors as far as quality. They're not to the level of a good coach. They're kind of mid-level as far as coaches go, but they're damn expensive because of that Class 8 truck. And I wanted one. I'd love to have a Class 8 truck built like that. I was not happy with their interiors.
Yeah. Okay. As far as current events, I guess it's going to be Flag Day, so then I guess this is Gay Pride Month. So I had a question.
So hold on.
I guess.
Hold on.
I got caught.
Something about this whole thing. And look, I don't follow this. I don't pay attention. If people want to have parades, go have parades. I don't care. But here's something that's a little weird to me.
Yeah, me too.
From what I understand, that if you're gay, right? That you didn't choose that, right? That's just it happened. Your hormones are out of whack, or God wanted you to be.
But that was my question.
So. If that's so, and that's what they've been telling us, right? That this isn't a choice for them, that this is just how they are.
Yeah, see, that's where I got caught.
Right. Well, if this is just how you are, what are you proud of? You didn't do anything. It'd be like me.
Yeah, that was my question.
It'd be like somebody that's 6'5" being proud because they're 6'5". I'm 5'5", but I didn't do anything to be 5'5", and you didn't do anything to be 6'5". So that's not something to be proud of. It might be something to be grateful for, if you want to be grateful for it, but not proud. You didn't do anything. Yeah. I don't get this. If you're gay by nature and you didn't do anything, what's the pride all about? You're just a human being like the rest of us.
Right.
I'm not.
Yeah, that's always go back to that.
It just is. Then you are what you are. You didn't have a choice. If I work to be really physically fit, or I can bench press 310 pounds when I only weigh 150, I could be pretty proud of that. That's an accomplishment. But if you're just gay by nature, what's the pride thing all about?
Yeah, I was going to ask, if you're gay, what's the difference between being gay and sexual preference? Because I got someone, I got kind of a different opinion, but, and they were saying that's so... would say something like that.
One of the things I will say, I live in Oregon, where I think a lot of people know what it's like here. I know a lot of gay people, employees, friends, a lot of them really. Most of them are very, very normal. In fact, many of them are really hardworking. Those are not the people making all the noise about all this stuff. They're just not. They live a normal life like the rest of us. Most people wouldn't even know it, or if you know it, just because of who they live with or whatever. But they're not making a big deal about it. It's not in anybody's face. It just is. That's who they are. That's what they do. It's no big deal. It's this very, very vocal movement that is causing all the issues. And let's take that whole pride thing one step further. They've been telling us for decades, if you're gay, you're gay. You can't help it. That's just who you are. And I believe that. I don't believe that's 100% of the time.
Yeah.
I think some people were almost maybe sexual trauma or other things could lead to this. But for the most part, I get it. Okay, you were born this way. All right. I've come to accept that. Except when we go to the trans movement. Wait a minute. You've been telling us all along we have to accept this gay thing because it's just who you are. You can't help it. Now you're saying, hey, wait a minute. I don't want to be a male anymore. I'm going to go be a female. How do those two things make any sense? You're just supposed to accept what you are, is what they told us. Don't try to change me from being gay because I'm gay by nature. Well, you're also a male by nature. Why are you now trying to be a female?
Yeah, so if you're gay by nature, is there any difference? So you still have a sexual preference, right? You're still choosing who you have sex with, right? I mean, it's not like.
Well, no. What they're saying what they're saying is their preference is not a choice. Did you choose to be attracted to women?
No.
No, it just.
No.
So let me ask you this: Do you have any desire to be attracted to men instead?
No.
No, me either. I'm just naturally attracted to women. I didn't do anything, so I'm accepting when they tell me I may be male, but I'm just naturally attracted to other males. I can't help that. So I believe that. I've believed that. Okay, I get it. Except now all of a sudden we don't have to accept even our body. We can change it now. I don't get the difference.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and then it probably turned into their rights. They're really fighting for their rights.
I don't get
the marriage thing.
But the marriage thing, that's government. But I don't understand what rights trans people don't have.
No, I meant the gays to get worried that they might lose.
Well, here's
why they might fight so hard.
I understand why they might fight for those too. The problem I have is there should be no advantage at the government level anyway. Drop all these stupid programs. The government shouldn't have any say on who marries who.
Yeah, right. Yes.
But what they fight for is the fact that the government's regulations and laws and programs, giveaways, exclude them. Maybe that they could. My point would be, okay, let's get rid of the government programs then. Because I think you should be able to marry whoever the hell you want, and there shouldn't be programs and advantages from the government anyway. The government should have nothing to do with any of this.
What program were you having? Like, you mean when you get divorced or when you get, what program?
Rights after death can be in some states. If that state doesn't recognize gay marriage, then you may be screwed. So I get it. There are laws like that are not good in those situations. My point is we shouldn't have all those laws and regulations. That's the problem, not who you're sleeping with or married to. You should be allowed to sleep or marry whoever the hell you want. It's none of the government's business.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. I get it. A dental question is, we love that powder, by the way. So that's all great. And but I had done damage in my life, and I had so right now I have I'm all good now, but I still have leftover damage. So my second to last tooth, I got a molar back there, and then the second to last one I had destroyed it, so I had pulled it a long time ago. And then that's the only tooth and it's on the upper. So if I chew on that side, I'm missing the tooth, right?
Right.
But I still have teeth around it. Okay. But so in your opinion, would you just leave it alone and just deal with it and chew on the other side and I can kind of still chew, but the thought of having like a bridge, and you gotta.
So it actually depends because I have a very small mouth and jaw, so I had very crowded teeth. All my wisdom teeth had to come out early to make some space. I don't have any root canals. At 60, I don't have any root canals at all. I have a couple of crowns, and I do have one tooth that I lost when I was in the military, and they just took it out. And when I got out, I had a dentist who had been trained I don't know. He actually did something called a Maryland bridge. Nobody else, every other dentist I went to, they're like, where did you get a Maryland bridge? I haven't seen one of these things in decades. But it was just a simple single tooth.
Yeah.
They didn't have to mess with the 2 teeth around it very much. But it would, every couple of years, it would come out. And I'd have to go back and get it re-cemented. And after a while, I decided not to. And you know what that space did? That space actually alleviated some of the crowding.
Yeah. So it was cemented to the 2 teeth next to it?
It was.
Or was it like clamped in there?
Well, it had little silver wings that came off, and they were glued on the inside of the other 2 teeth. And it was a really simple bridge without doing a lot of damage to the other teeth. A lot of times when they do a bridge, they take the other 2 teeth and they put crowns on them, even if they don't need it.
Yeah, yes, they make it into a post, basically. They shit it down to like a post.
Well, now...
And then put the crown on.
Now with implant technology, that should be better. But I want to schedule a call with Trina and ask her about implants, because we haven't talked about that, and I don't know. I didn't realize how bad root canals were for us. I'm glad I don't have any. Root canals are really bad for us.
Root canals are... Yeah, I know. I have one. Yeah, I know.
I'm wondering, these permanent, implants, that they seem really good, but now I'm wondering,
Titanium.
Maybe there's some sort of health issue that we really don't want these if we can avoid them. I don't know. I need to go do that research.
Yeah. So, my question was, it sounds like, why mess with 2 good teeth and drill it and make them into a post just to put a crown on and have a tooth in the middle, or would you just...
I wouldn't. I think it's a bad idea.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And titanium in your bone might not be good either.
I have no idea. I know they tell us that titanium is like, there's a word for this. When it doesn't...
something. Yeah.
When it doesn't react with it's hypoallergenic. I believe they claim titanium's hypoallergenic. But here's the thing. They've lied to us so many times, I don't believe anything anymore.
Yeah.
I go look for the other answer.
Kind of rhymes with aluminum.
Yeah. I go look for some other answer, because everything about health they've told us turns out to be wrong. So I just don't believe anything anymore. I go look for the alternative.
Yeah. I'm just going to deal with it. It's not causing any issue. Sometimes I'm worried if I had chunky, I didn't chew my food maybe quite all the way, but
it's not.
I can fix that.
Yeah, that's right. Your teeth will shift and move a little bit because of that space. In my case, there was some crowding. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Then I kept thinking I'm going to go get an implant put in there and be done with it. Then I didn't feel like doing the research on implants, so I don't want to make a big decision until I do. But now I have somebody I trust. So now it's just a matter of I'll go talk to Trina and see what her take on implants are.
All right. Thanks a lot, Kevin.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. All right, we're going to wrap it up for today. We'll be back tomorrow with the Power Hour. Wednesday's Destination Health. Thursday, I will be joined by David Owen from NASTIC. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we'll be doing our Twitter Spaces. I may do a pop-up space this week. There's some people who are not happy with me. They now claim that I don't really help truck drivers and owner-operators, so they want to debate me on this whole broker issue. I may do a quick pop-up and see how that goes. So if you're following me on Twitter and you get notifications, you'll see it. If not, it may end up on the app. I don't know if we'll do it live. It may be that I do a space with somebody else monitoring it, and I'll think about recording it. I don't know. But that's the schedule for the week. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Be safe, be profitable, be fit and healthy. Always do the hard work and master the journey.